Well, we have been telling you about cities around the Bay really struggling to enforce these new parking rules near crosswalks. A new law prevents parking within 20 feet of the pedestrian crossing.
Here in San Francisco, there's been a lot of confusion and traffic enforcement has been focused on other violations. So what are you most likely to get a ticket for here in the city?
ABC 7 News Building a Better Bay Area reporter Leanne Melendez has more on the top citations issued. I would guess speeding.
I'll give you a clue. I'm not going to tell you right off the bat. You got to watch the package.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a clue. It's the one I avoid like the plague because they are always out there. Can't stand them. But anyway, they're just doing their job. For now, we have been given a reprieve on some daylighting citations. That's not the one. But the city has maintained its steady enforcement policy with some of the other violations. And in March, the speed cameras in parts of the city will be up and running. They say all in the name of safer streets.
People were simply too confused when it came to parking at certain intersections that were not painted red. A year ago, here's what SFMTA assumed people would do. Remember this?
No, it will not be painted because it's a state law now. It's basically like a driving rule.
So how are people supposed to know?
Well, that's part of the reason that we're doing this story is to increase awareness.
That didn't work so well. So the city decided rather than cite people, the SFMTA would spell it out for them.
What we're going to be doing is expediting our approach to get curbs painted red.
That project will take about 18 months to complete. According to SFMTA, the Mission and Russian Hill neighborhoods had the most daylighting warning citations issued. Those daylighting tickets were never intended to bring extra revenue. But failing to move for street cleaning, on the other hand, continues to be the top parking violation in the city. According to SFMTA data, from January of last year to this year, more than 570,000 tickets were issued. That means the city brought in more than $51 million for those citations alone. Unpaid or expired meters followed a distant second, with more than 190,000 citations. Two-way zone and yellow zone tickets are also a big moneymaker. The area of downtown between the Ferry Building and the ballpark generating the most citations.
We actually live around here, and we tell people not to park on the street around here because it seems like it's especially in this area. I don't know if it's just this area, but it does seem like they are really watching.
I park in Oakland and I take Barton because I don't want to mess around with trying to park in the city. It's too complicated.
But perhaps the one violation that irks people the most are all those drivers that double park, blocking traffic. That's a $108 ticket, but at times hard for traffic enforcement officers to catch. Car-sharing companies like Lyft and Uber are no exception. But what about self-driving cars? Waymo vehicles are programmed to find a safe stop to pull over before picking up or dropping off passengers. But when we spoke to Waymo's product manager, Chris Ludwig, more than a year ago, he told us there are times when they are forced to double park.
If we can't, we'll stop in lane, but we're also able to detect if we're blocking traffic behind us, and we'll actually move along and circle the block if needed to prevent causing a disruption.
Here's the rub. Driverless cars cannot be ticketed because California law states that citations must be issued to an actual driver of the car.
Until now, law enforcement has been issuing notices of non-compliance to the DMV, while Texas and Arizona rewrote their laws to cite driverless cars. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the parking violations because, as we know, SFMTA is in a jam. They're going to face, in 2026, a huge budget deficit. I think it's something like $320 million. So what do? Ridership is still down. Okay, people are still working from home. They're not using Muni as much. But are you going to increase fares? We don't know. Also, are those citations going to go up? So they're in a jam. We'll see. I think we're going to be paying for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so frustrating. We can all relate to this, right? And this happened to you, too, right? I mean, you've seen it, especially with the red strip and those violation zones.
Yeah.
$108 later.
Yeah, but I got a ticket, a citation for parking in a zone that was not marked yet in red. But I didn't pay. It was a warning.
Oh, okay. All right.
It was a big fat zero, and I like big fat zeros.
Yeah. It's a nice
Yes.
surprise.
Ex-
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
good.